I'm Rosa Mendez, and I'm here at the #1 Long Island broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh. I had the best time ever!
Hey, listen, Daddy, you're listening to the #1 broadcast, Monte and Pharaoh, Daddy, in Long Island. The best pro wrestling broadcast of all time, I think.
Jimmy, I got to tell you, man, it feels good to be back on YouTube. It was quite disappointing what happened to us, but we bounced back fairly quickly.
Well, what else would we do? We're almost at 5,000 subscribers.
Well, speaking of that, man, we need more members.
Okay.
What do you think we need to do to get the people of those 5,000 subscribers to come on and join the team as a Monte the Pharaoh member?
Nudity is out of the question. Any other ideas?
I don't know, man. I don't know. But what I do have a few ideas.
Well, just like Prel, they should tell 2 friends, and they could tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Check out all our content.
But that's, you know what? That's why you're the star of the show, because guess what? Members get special content. Even we spoke about it. Pharaoh came to me one day and he goes, man, what's the deal? I can't even watch some of these videos because I'm not a member. And I said, there you go, Pharaoh. You got to be a member because this is what the members get. They get free content that none of the other fans that watch this show get.
That's right.
You get free autographs from some of these wonderful stars that come in, right?
Nice.
All you do is you go to the MNP webpage or our own page and shoot us an email and say, hey, man, I want a picture of Tommy Rich. I want a picture of whatever. And boy, that's on its way.
We give them their choice.
That's right.
We rock.
We do rock.
And you need to rock too. Join.
Thank you so much, Renee. Tony,
Thank
you so much. Everybody else out there, thank you so much. Bring the boom!
And maybe I should add the right screen in. Hey guys, welcome.
I was about to go all Beatle on you. I was about to go. You put us backstage, mate.
We never look better.
Get us back on. Get us back on.
Well, first of all, wait a minute.
Up,
did you guys see? Hey, what's up? Did you see that Tony Khan thing? That dude is one weird dude, man.
You got a straw?
No, man.
Anybody got a straw?
Yeah.
All right, well.
I mean, he's running the ship, and you wonder why. Don't forget, 5 years ago, Chris Jericho 5 years ago said that within 6 months, AEW would be outdoing and outdrawing WWE. We're still laughing 4.5 years after this.
Well, I think in life, if you just say it, hopefully it sticks, right? I mean, that's just the way it works, right? So, I don't know. Listen, before we get going and we discuss with our special guest, who I'm very excited to have on the show, I want to discuss something I feel very important. I'm not introducing him yet, Jimmy. Everybody knows who he is, but we got to get a big entrance. But I think it's important that we weigh in on probably the most important subject of the day, of the year so far, is women who wear tube socks. Dude, I got to tell you, when women wear long tube...
Bravo. What is today's date? And he's decided this is the most important subject of the year. It's
the picture.
What is today's date?
I don't know.
We're barely into the year, and this is at the top of your list, Mike?
You've got that picture on the screen. You're asking me about, like, calendars?
Well, first of all, I'm having a normal reaction, if that's what you're worried about.
No, I'm having a normal reaction.
Well, excuse me. Well, I moved the other way, Mike. I'm going to go over here. I got to change the whole camera angle. The show's ruined. Thanks to you and your fucked up subject matter. So, Mike, are tube socks in? Well, from what I can tell, apparently so.
But guys, on a serious thing, as a man As men
I
who
didn't see
love
any
women,
tube socks.
as
He
men
didn't
who
see
exact
any-
well,
He didn't even notice the tube socks, Mike.
and I don't blame him. I don't blame him. But seriously, when you look at a woman, there's many things they could wear, right? Bikinis, I don't know, shorts. But is there anything hotter than a woman who wears tube socks
You're
to their
breaking up
knees?
like Steve Austin from $6 Million Man.
You can't hear me? Can you hear me?
You be freezing. He be freezing. This
I
is the
think
part
that-
where we're supposed to be the
that's
last
on.
part
I
of the
think
show.
that no,
man,
that's
we're screwed.
Yeah, I
that's
know.
on your.
Now we're going to be forced
Jimmy.
to improvise until Mike comes back. Now he'll come
Jimmy,
back.
I'm here.
Yeah.
That's on your end.
But where
That's
he's
on
at
your
right
end.
now? Are you there, Mike?
I'm here. That's got to be on your end.
He's not there.
I'm
he's
here.
there. It's just, yeah. It's
I'm
just
here.
kind of bouncing.
Yeah,
in and
you're
out.
bouncing in and out, brother.
But that's got to be you guys. then.
And visually, I haven't seen you move in about, I don't know, a minute.
Yeah.
That's got to be on your end, Jimmy.
But hey, I mean, how about that though? Really, this, Mandy Rose, she gets let go basically because she won't give up her. I don't even think it was OnlyFans yet at the time, and she's making like 5 times what she ever made in wrestling just doing this. And I mean, more power to her. Good for her.
Well, who's going to argue with that?
No, I'm not.
But is tube socks in? You didn't notice?
I didn't even notice.
Now, unless Mike was making a reference to men seeing a picture of that
And then needing a tube sock.
then needing a
Well,
tube
that makes
sock.
sense, yeah.
So there's always that. There's always that possibility
Yeah.
as we wait on Mike attempting to come back onto the show.
But how you doing?
How am I doing? Why is it so cold down here? It sucks.
I know. If this keeps up, I'm gonna move to Florida.
I don't like it. I don't know what's going on with it. It's
Next week, it's supposed to be bad.
it's colder than
Now,
last winter.
For those of you watching us, bad down here is, I think right now it's 51 degrees.
No,
which is
today
a
was
freaking
good.
winter.
Today was good. I'm not complaining
I
about
can't
today.
stand
I'm
it.
complaining about last week with the real feel of 24 degrees.
It's gonna be that again.
Coach,
Yeah.
why don't we talk
That's
about
us whining.
why don't we talk about you? Oh, Mike, there might be a chance that Mike is coming back.
There
Mike,
he
are you with us?
I have been here. I have been here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can
it's
hear you.
just buffering.
I
a
can hear
little
you
bit.
now, but you've been coming in and out. You disappeared for a while.
Well, I think the buffering's on your guys' end. Can you check that? Because I'm asking
Probably.
people if they can hear me. Hold on. Yeah, everybody could see me. Everything. It's the buffering's
Yeah,
got to be
now-
on your end, Jimmy.
Yeah, it's
I
better
don't-
now.
I don't know why. I haven't been kicked off. It's just like last week for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
It's the cold.
We continue.
Can you hear me now? Are we clear? Are we okay now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
go. All right. So, where were we with the tube socks? Sorry to throw that out.
Well, why don't we start off by introducing the guest?
We're not there yet, bro.
You see, he's
Why are
frozen.
you Why are you rushing me?
Well, you asked where we were, didn't you?
I'm good. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
but
let's.
You're not moving. You're not moving. Now you're moving.
Don't worry about me moving. If you could, that's on your side. If you could hear me, let's keep going. We're okay. All right.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right. All right. Not a good start, but here we go. Very excited to introduce Florida's own ESPN, The Real Coach. Coach, thanks for joining Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Absolutely love the show. Love being a part of this, and love messing with this guy over here.
Oh, great. It's pile on time. Not a good start.
So, but a few things though. When we're able to come on to ESPN, Coach does such a wonderful job with us, Jimmy, and we talk a lot of straight wrestling. But now you're in our world, Coach, the world of Monte the Pharaoh. Are you ready to go deep and get out of your comfort zone to talk about some crazy stuff? What do you think?
It's time to work blue. It's time to work blue. Let's go.
He wants to be MJF. All right. Before we start, I do want to sorry guys. Wrong screen. I am fucking messed right now. All right. Coach, you're there. There you go. Sorry guys, we'll get through this.
Yeah.
Prayers to the people in California. If people want to donate, we all know what's been going on in California. It's It's a tough thing. What are you guys' thoughts on what's happening in California? Are you blaming anybody, or you just think it's unfortunate circumstances?
You know, it's a little early probably to blame, although there should be some cast out, because I do think that several facets of this were avoidable. But for right now, what we've got to make sure and do is give all the support that we can to make sure that we get the fires out, and that we support the people who have, lost everything. There's a lot of people who have truly lost everything. And then there's going to be plenty of time to assess the failures of those in charge, because there are some pretty spectacular failures that some were unavoidable. Look, you're in California, you're going to have fires, but some were very avoidable, and you need to be able to address that, and not just play my team versus your team, but actually get in there and go, maybe human beings are more important than some protected fish.
Well, that's a really great point. And it's, again, like I actually saw people like happy about some actors or actresses that had lost their house because of what side of the fence they were politically. And I'm thinking to myself, when is this nonsense just going to stop? When did humans lose morality?
Yeah. Again, it just boils down into this, my team versus your team politics nonsense. And the more time we spend kind of in the social media bubble, the worse that gets, because you're taking the personal, relationships out of it. And it's just speaking into a screen or typing into a screen. And, I guarantee you, if you're there on the ground, you think about it a little bit differently than you do if you're 1,000 miles away typing on your keyboard.
Jimmy, what are you thinking?
Well, basically, to me, and I think you would agree with me considering the approach of this show, there's always a point of origin. And Coach said it's too early to blame. I say it's too late to blame, but those who are held blamable will at least speed up the process of the reason why they're blamable, I hope. Okay, I do know that ex-president and soon-to-be future President Trump had a problem with the governor of California. His water distribution was concerned. And the governor of California was either, I guess he's on the other side. Again, we go with teams and stuff like that. I just go with what feels right in my gut and Black Sabbath, like I said on Facebook. But, not to make a joke of it. But honestly, it could have been avoided. The definition of insanity is repeating something over and over again, expecting a different result. We so often, for so many years, have seen fires occur in these certain areas. Why? Well, why do you think? Most of the time, it's there's no water. Got to get water there. I don't care what the nature conservationists are worried about at that given point. You've got people's homes burning. And like you said, we're not rooting for anybody's homes to be burned down. Whether you're famous, what side you're on, blah, blah, blah. You're a human being. Your life is at risk. Your house is at risk. We care about stuff like that, But when you see behind the scenes politically that this has been going on for a long time, and I hope future President Trump, in how many days? 5, 4? Where are we? We're close now.
Yeah.
He'll have a chance to do something about it. I know this much about future President Trump. When there was the terrible hurricane in PCP, he came here physically.
Yep.
He was here, right, Coach?
Yeah.
Trump was here, and it was a mess here. I've seen the remnants of it. It's now 7 years ago, I do believe. It was 2018. There was a horrible hurricane came through PCB, Panama City area, destroyed everything.
Part of the problem too is you think about all these people that have lost their houses, and then how about all these animals that have lost their houses and now are running the streets? I don't know if this could have been avoided, but I think it could have certainly been at a lesser toll than what we saw, right? Anybody? Can you hear me?
Well, you kind of broke up. Yeah, well, it just kind of broke up just a little bit in there. Can you hit me with that again?
I said not only the devastation of all the houses and all these people who lost their homes, how about all these animals that were living in these houses and they have nowhere to go? I mean, it's just a travesty, right?
Mike, that was you that posted was it a leopard I saw? Where somebody was helping him?
Yep.
Yeah, that was unbelievable to me. It made me think about all the wildlife and all the animals and all the displaced creatures. Many creatures dwell this earth. It's not just people that are being affected by it. It's all that wildlife. It's very sad.
Well, and that's one thing with fires. With hurricanes, there is a bit of a warning.
Right.
And so you can kind of get the pets gathered up and get moving. A lot of times with these fires, with Santa Ana winds out west, that stuff changes so quickly and those things move so rapidly that you are literally seconds, from saving your own life. And a lot of times, unfortunately, animals get left behind in that panic. And that's why you end up losing so many in these fire situations, which makes it that much more tragic when you don't have the resources, positioned to actually deal with this when it does come up.
Well, let me ask you guys, in Florida, right? Do you have trouble getting hurricane insurance, or is it out of control? Like what happens in Florida? Because I can imagine in California, the fire insurance must be astronomical.
Well, there's a lot of misinformation going on out in California about, people saying that insurance companies dropped clients when the fire started. That's not even legal. What happened was, legislatively, California made it to where insurance companies literally could not make any money, and so they just stopped writing policies. So they just weren't renewing. Now down here, the bigger problem you have in Florida is, and look, they're a business, they're trying to protect themselves. I get it. I'm not happy about it, but you can get hurricane insurance a lot of times. But if water is what causes your issue, a lot of times they'll claim that's flood. And if you don't have flood insurance, they won't cover you. It doesn't matter that the hurricane caused the flood. That's what they'll do. So, fortunately, you won't.
Gotcha.
And look,
Sucker.
the insurance company, they start everything with the notion that someone's scamming them. That's why it takes so long to get through it. And it's not good. It wasn't good down here.
Maybe
after
necessary.
Michael, but look,
there are a lot of scammers.
It is understandable, but there are definitely better ways that it could be done, because I've heard just some horror stories from Hurricane Michael here, where people literally were 3 years after the storm still dealing with their insurance companies, when it's like, literally a tree fell through my house. The tree was knocked over by the wind. This is not rocket science. So
I was just thinking, all these houses, these are multi-million-dollar houses, $30 million houses. How's an insurance company going to cover rebuilding a house like that? I don't know, man. It's just, I don't even know what to say at this point, really. All right, let's move on to something else, guys. There's a coach, not the real coach. The real coach we have in studio, but there's a coach of the WWE, or formerly from the WWE. So, Jimmy, I don't know if you remember, I had 2 meetings with WWE coach, because they were interested about putting our show on his network. I don't know if you remember that, about a year ago, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Mike?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there's definitely a delay of some kind.
it's like a buffering. Occasionally it pops in.
It's not happening on our end, so I'm very confused as to whether Mike can hear us or he can't.
I can hear you. If you can hear me, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You there, Mike?
I'm here. Jimmy, can you hear me?
I should try to get back in and back out.
Yeah, Jimmy, get in and get out real quick, okay?
Yeah.
Get out. Can you get in and get out? Or can you hear me? There you go. Anyway, guys, while we're waiting, because I don't think it's on my end, at least everybody's telling me that in the comments section. About a year, maybe a year and a half ago, Jimmy and I met with Coach via phone. Had a discussion as he has a network, and he was interested in having Monte the Pharaoh join his network. Anyway, just this week on Busted Open Radio, and we'll cover Corey Graves. They're talking about Corey Graves, but Coach was talking about his network. And he had decided to he said on Busted Open Radio basically that they didn't want anyone on the network that wasn't a wrestler because they just didn't, or some part of wrestling because they just don't understand the business. Jimmy, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
All right, maybe that worked then.
Okay.
All right,
Fair
cool.
enough.
Good.
Fair enough.
So anyway, I was saying that there's a coach out there in the WWE, right? But we have the real coach. But I don't know if you remember, Jimmy, about a year and a half ago, I had 2 phone calls with Coach. They were interested on putting Monte and the Pharaoh on their network.
Right.
So anyway, I was listening to Busted Open, and they were talking about Corey Graves, and then he started talking about his network. And he was saying that he's building, he's going on to Roku, the same old stuff that everybody says they're doing. But he was basically saying that he had, I don't know if it was a direct shot at us, but I was like, he basically was saying that he had decided with his team that they did not want any shows on their network if people weren't in the business. He didn't believe that fans really knew anything about the sport, that they could really lend anything that was really important except their own perspective of what they think about the sport. And then he compared it to baseball, football, the same shit we heard before.
Right.
So I wanted both of you guys to weigh in your thoughts of, because look, Coach, you're on ESPN, you're a fantastic orchestrator and announcer and broadcaster. Pharaoh obviously is the star of the show, but I'd like to hear what you both have to say about that, because personally I was a little bit insulted.
Oh, I wouldn't waste my time with being insulted. Who's the point of origin, Coach? who gives a fuck? I really don't give a fuck. It's ridiculous for someone like Coach to say what he said, because would he even be where he is? He was just a regular dude that got a shot through the man. At the end of the day, and he's capitalized. Good for him. He's good at what he does. Cool. That's cool. But don't diminish us fans. We put the money in your fucking pocket. No fans, no business. No business. When you got no business, you got no money. If you got no money, you got no honey.
Funky like a
ain't that funny? Wake the fuck up. Who gives a shit what Coach thinks? I don't give a shit, Coach.
Look, if he's talking about, basically the intricacies of, performing the moves or, selling or this, that, or the other.
You don't know those?
Yeah, then a fan. Look, I get it. It'd be like the same thing of.
It should be insulting.
But look, the perspective, it's a really short-sighted view of the wrestling business to not get, the insights of the fans and the people who are out there actually, digesting what's out there, because that is, art is not just about the creation. It's about the enjoyment, and having that perspective, I think, just builds the whole that much better. I don't think that.
And what's a great wrestler without the connection of the fans? You got to connect.
Well,
right?
I would almost say, guys, though, Coach, you're doing sports, reporting and broadcasting. Obviously, you're an athlete and everything else, but you're not a football player per se. You're not a baseball player per se, but you do know what you're talking about. Like Jimmy knows what he's talking about, in wrestling and a lot of other stuff. My thoughts is that I think he's missing the boat just purely on this. I believe the broadcaster, the podcaster are starting to get more power within these industries. Now everybody can say what they want to. Everybody's got a podcast. We all know that. We all know what's happening there. And you saw it just on Netflix 2 weeks ago when Hogan came out. A lot of people thought, again, we got a lot of feedback last week, Jimmy, great show. A lot of feedback on social media, but a lot of people thought it had to do with either A, his political views, or B, his racial slurs that he used about 10 years ago, right? But I tend to believe it's the podcasters who have kind of had this momentum where it's in, and it's the in thing to do is to call Hulk Hogan a liar, and he lies about everything. And I think these overall podcasters that hate on Hogan, this younger group that really weren't around for this, and this is the in thing to do because Dutch Mantel does it, or Monte the Pharaoh do it. Not that we do, but people listen, and I think that's what affected them. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, I watched last week. I thought that you really hit it out of the park with that, because that's a lot of what I think. I mean, the politics, the people who said that, it doesn't make any sense. The Undertaker's just as big, on the Republican side as had Trump on this side or the other. It's not that. But I do think it's the 2 decades of shoot interviews with all the jealous guys going out there and saying, Hogan stepped on me this, Hogan, that's not going to work for me, brother, all of this stuff. Jimmy and I were talking about this before the show. There's plenty of background into that we could get into. But I do think, and one of the things Jimmy was saying to me, it is generational. And those guys have come up on wrestling as much with these shoot interviews as they have actually watching wrestling. And so most of the fans in that arena were of a younger generation, and that's what they know of Hulk Hogan. They don't know that the reason they're in that arena is because of what Hulk Hogan did. And so I thought it was a pretty ugly display. Was I shocked by it? Not terribly, because like I said, I've seen 2 decades of this stuff where that's the only narrative that's been out there about Hogan, other than shows like this that actually give a more well-rounded view of what the man's career and legacy truly is.
I think it's total crap. It's a generational thing. Like I told Coach before we started the show, it's a generational thing. I think it's the exception, and I know you've heard from a couple of them, Mike, that were back in our day that were like, I'll never be a Hulk Hogan guy again. Okay, congratulations. You're part of cancel culture as far as I'm concerned. Hogan's transgressions are Hogan's transgressions. He's never killed anybody. He said a bad word when he wasn't even aware he was being, illegally, it was going to be illegally distributed, and he was talking about his kid, and it's very personal. It's none of my fucking business. So you'll excuse me if I don't go boo him. I think today's generation, Coach, is right, has been raised on the internet. All they know is the negative about Hulk Hogan. And before Coach got here, just as he got here, we started talking about the way the business was back then. It was kill or be killed. What the hell? You don't have mid-carders as millionaires today. Back then, you don't. The guys at the top of the card made most of the money because they drew most of the money, and it was blood for blood, man. It was very ruthless. Kevin Nash changed everything with Scott Hall when they became free agents, and you got the trickle-down effect. You've got decades later, you got mid-carders are millionaires, man. Right? At the end of the day. Cody Rhodes' program has been about fighting guys he's going to beat. What's the challenge in that? There's no I've got to, take this guy's head off just because and blah, blah, blah. It's some of the safest booking I've ever seen. Everybody's getting paid well. Everybody's having fun working together. And on top of it, you don't even get The Rock. You get last week in the Netflix debut, you get Dwayne thanking Cody. Hey, why don't we go have weenies together? What the fuck is going on, Mike?
Listen, I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with you, and I think also to top it off, and maybe put the cherry on the top of the pie or the cake or the ice cream, whatever you want to call it, is I think that today's podcaster too, right? They don't want the fans, right? They want to make money. I don't believe they stay true to themselves. So, the minute something happens, they jump all over it.
Right.
And, their followers, they just follow along. I was telling, I think Scala from Dan and Benny in the Ring, who's on the channel, that whether you're a big show, a middle show, or a small show, Jimmy, you've seen it before. People have said to us, you saved my life. Whatever, your show during COVID, right? We read those things. Yeah. One fan listening to 1 million fans, you're affecting what's going on there. I mean, think about it. The WrestleMania main event got changed because of Busted Open Radio. I mean, think about that kind of influence, Jimmy and Coach.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, we've seen the fans do that before. They did that with Daniel Bryan. They did that with Kofi Kingston. They did that with Cody Rhodes. It's been happening for a long time now. And it really starts because CM Punk gets on the stage and squats like an Indian and starts doing a pipe bomb. You know, when you start moving in that direction, CM Punk kind of empowered the fans to say whatever the fuck they want when you think about it. He was the first one to basically tell the corporation, you suck, your son-in-law with the big beak sucks, your daughter sucks, this sucks, you know, and the fans fell in love with him and took it to a whole nother level. I thought what was bad. You know, like, you know, Stone Cold didn't mean for what to turn into what has become today, where it can ruin a promo or an attempt at even having a promo, you know, but
you know, but there's something else too that you know, we talk about the young fans and what they've been brought up on, but even younger guys in the business, I do think there's a difficulty for some of them to maybe get into the mindset of what it was like, let's say, when Hogan and Flair were coming through, where, you know, a lot of people don't know that, you know, Hogan showed up for his first like training session, they snapped his leg.
Right.
You know, and the NWA, how many times have we heard about how the NWA champion had to be able to defend that belt for real because there were people trying to steal it? It was a much different business then. And look, was it nice, you know, to keep your spot? No, but that's the problem is those guys.
What's this about having
but
to
that's
be
it.
nice?
But that's it.
It's professional wrestling.
That's it. But
what's nice about
what these guys have been brought up in is a peek behind the curtain. Everybody's friends, the heels and the baby faces hang out together. And I'm just telling you,
right,
that's
though.
what they've been brought up on.
You're right.
And, you know, they look at anything like, look, the understanding of, you know, Hulk Hogan protecting his spot makes perfect sense to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, maybe it wasn't the nicest thing in the world, but who the hell cares? This is business. So
there you have it, brother.
Listen, there you have it. I mean, think about it. I could be a multi-millionaire living in Clearwater, Florida. Or I could be living in Boston in a two-room apartment, right? I mean, we've seen both ends of it. So yeah, I agree with you guys wholeheartedly. Coach Jimmy, here's another thing. You know, Coach, again, we thank you all the time for allowing us on your wonderful station. But the one thing that I know you can't really touch where you're coming from, and I've always been interested to understand this, and this is kind of off script, and I've been wanting to ask you, but I wanted to ask you, where did you stand, or where do you stand on the Vince McMahon situation?
Fire in. It's tough. The hard part is I don't know everything. So I'm only reticent because I really haven't read everything about it. The hard part in all of this, guys, is what we have heard through the media and all that is all the anti-Vince stuff, right? We haven't really seen the evidence. We haven't seen what's in court. You know, that's all we've heard. So it's always going to sound bad when you hear the worst of the allegations. But we also know that this business has been rife with false allegations, misleading of things like that. We know that there have been people who have done certain things to get ahead in this business and then maybe regret it later and claim XYZ for money. Look, if what closed with the SEC recently was about, you know, possibly using of company funds to pay off a hush money settlement. That is against the law. He's settled that and that's all done. That part of it to me seemed pretty cut and dry. The stuff with Janelle Grant on the personal level, I have a hard time believing it because there's no way Vince McMahon has been around this long. I don't care how powerful people think he is. There's no way he's been around this long and been that cavalier and opened himself up to that much of an issue. I have a hard time believing it. Now, do I think they absolutely had some level of a relationship? Yes. Do I think it probably either she decided, you know, enough was enough, or more likely Linda decided enough was enough. Too many people know about this. You need to put an end to this. And then it just got sideways from there because now the regular meal ticket was gone. I don't know. It's a hard one, but I have a hard time believing what I've seen in the media just because of past experience with that stuff. I don't think we get the truth. So I would probably need to read the court papers to know better. But like I say, it does look like the part with the SEC is over. That made perfect sense. It's done. It's settled. All parties are happy. Now we're on to the more seedy part of it, if you will.
Well done. Well done.
Mike?
Jimmy? Jimmy, can you hear me?
Well, basically, I mean, what's the same old story? What's the same old story with Vince at the end of the day? You get all these allegations. You get all this, oh, he did this, he did that, he did this, he did that. Is Vince McMahon in jail, Mike?
I think, guys, and Jimmy, I really do think that Vince McMahon is in the same boat Hulk Hogan is, right? Today's media, today's people, today's generation, all they care about is putting people down, and that's what they learned, to hate Vince McMahon. I mean, look, let's be honest. WWE's been great, right? But, you know, WWE under Vince McMahon was great, and then it goes flat, right? And, you know, it's eventually going to happen to Triple H, and then what are they going to say?
I'll try it again.
Yeah, I might have to. Mike, you good?
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
I was about to kick myself out again.
Might have been moving. It might have worked.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe.
know.
We missed that very last part.
So what I was saying is Vince McMahon falls in that Hulk Hogan bucket, right? So,
yeah,
you know, today's generation, they were born on hating Vince McMahon. He's overrated. He can't write. He's a control freak. Listen, you know, we're going to talk about Gen Z because today's society now, there's a big article, we'll talk about it, is that companies are starting to fire Gen Z because they cannot deal with what's going on with them. Well, and we'll discuss that.
Yeah, everything's a problem. And look, you know what? You got to have a face of every whatever it is being rallied against, okay? Who was the face of steroids in baseball, Mike? A-Rod. Easy peasy target. Ortiz, just as fucking guilty and beloved. Beloved. It is the most hypocrite, and we do it with everything. I don't care if it's wrestling. I don't care if it's politics. We are the most hypocritical race, you know, obviously on the planet. You know, you point out that the damn leopards, you showed that video of the leopard being like heart compressed and saved. I mean, doesn't that really spell out what we really should be thinking about? It's just like, well, wait a minute. What are we doing? The subdividing is ridiculous. And the need for a face, my main point, Hogan is the face. Trump is the face of whatever it is or A-Rod's been the face of whatever it is you hate. You know, there's a face. There's a point of origin.
There's a far cry between being possibly a dirtbag and being criminally liable for sexual trafficking.
Yes.
And I think I think what happens, and again, I don't want to dump everything onto today's youth and media, this, that, or the other, but I think too much blurring of that line has gone on to where it's like, because we think someone's a dirtbag in their personal life, which whatever, maybe is, maybe isn't.
But she lived in the same place as Vince McMahon. She wasn't suffering.
I know. Oh, well,
she took $1 million.
I am. Well, she probably took more than that. I'm very well aware. What I'm saying is, there's too much blurring of the fact that we think he's a dirtbag for XYZ.
Right.
So he's obviously guilty of XYZ crimes,
and
which is insane.
To top it off,
thank God we still do this in court.
Mike, I think that Vince and Linda have had an understanding for years, man.
Sure they have.
For years, Mike. It has to be. It has to be business with that marriage. It has to be, and it has to be for a long time. Vince is clearly one thing. And if it makes him a dirtbag in your eyes, that's fine. But I got to be honest. I'll say this as a disclaimer. I didn't care what Bill and the cigar. I didn't care, okay? Right. I personally really don't care what Vince McMahon does with his weenie, as long as it's not raping somebody or whatever. And if you take a check for $1 million, do us all a favor. Take the money. Go fucking be smart with it and leave us the fuck out of it. What? I don't even want to know about Janelle Grant, Mike. I don't. Yeah. I don't. But and I'm so selfish enough because I love his contributions, because I have the nerve to love pro wrestling. You know, when this is not Chris Benoit. All right.
This might be a male chauvinist. But this might be a male chauvinist pig comment. But my point is, you're Vince McMahon and you're around that all day long, doing that all day long. How are you supposed to not want to say, "Hey, let's hook up"?
You're hired.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Join the Kiss My Ass Club.
Yeah, I mean, gee, I wonder why Eva Marie came back.
Thank you, man. I mean, my God, enough already.
What, like
this.
Vince doesn't know the difference between like he's looking at Mero, he's looking at Sable. He's like, gee, I wonder who I should push.
Thank you.
I mean, come on. And look, this is Vince McMahon. I don't care. I just don't care. He delivered enough for me to be like, okay. So
by the way, they all do it, and when they get fired, they go, "I was told and made to do things I really didn't want to do."
Look, I'm gonna probably dance on the hand grenade here a little bit. It is not this exact line. Let me repeat, it is not this exact line, but there is a phrase that is out there and has been out there, and that phrase has been, regret does not equal rape. And I think that's a little of what's going on here. After the fact, after the gravy train has been closed, now we have a different understanding of what went on, and we're going to complain this, that, or the other that we never complained about while it was going on. Come on.
I always say it, guys. You take money, you've lost all credibility. That's it.
Yeah.
If it bothered you in the beginning, not to get into like the Mancini thing, you're told your friend tells you she was raped, and you don't do shit, and you continue to work the company for 2 years. Yeah. And now, 20 years later, you're going to go, I knew this went on, right? Fuck that shit, man.
I mean, and how dare you ask that question? What's wrong with you, you fan?
Enough of that. Corey Graves pulled from January 14th edition of WNXT. We all know that Pat McAfee, Corey Graves has been pushed down to the third show.
Right.
And he went to Twitter, not once, but twice. And he said he was going to go on an NXT and basically shot a warning out there. And I think people at some point thought, was this a work? Was it not a work? Yeah. What are your thoughts on this, guys?
What do you say, Coach?
I'll be honest with you. When his first tweet went out, it made perfect sense. It was venting of what I thought was irrational frustration. Fair enough. That's what it is. And then when it kind of escalated to the next level, I thought, well, maybe this is a work. Maybe he's been cleared to come back and they're working this, and this is his way to, attack somebody and get in the rumble, whatever, get back in the ring. I'll be honest with you. It could still be a work. The more I really think about it, I don't think this is. I think this is a legitimate reaction to a guy who had his career basically taken away from him, pivoted into something that was not lined up for him, and he worked pretty damn hard to become what I think is one of the better color guys out there. I think he's much better than McAfee. I understand why McAfee is on. McAfee brings eyes. McAfee's good for the business. I don't think McAfee's bad. I do think Graves is better. I really do. And so I get it. I think it's a legitimate frustration. And he's airing it. And honest to God, I'm kind of glad to hear the truth on it, because I happen to think he's right.
I've never seen anyone so miserable at the beginning of a broadcast than Corey Graves. Honestly, Mike, I've never seen anybody so miserable. He looked miserable. And I thought to myself, probably what you thought to yourself, hey, buddy, we know you're great. I think he's better than Wade Barrett. Do I think he's better than Pat McAfee and Michael Cole as a team? Fuck no. It is a business decision, and I agree with it. I think Pat McAfee is actually great. I do also think Corey Graves is great, but that's the way it goes. Mm-hmm. Take your $6 salary, kick ass in NXT. I've heard he might even have a comeback. If you're going to have a comeback, you might as well start where you made your noise in the first place. By the way, Corey Graves was a really good wrestler. Good heel. Good heel. Came across like a real, almost like a CM Punk arrogant prick, if you understand what I'm saying. But, man, he looked miserable in that role. And if that's for real and he feels slighted, I would in the Wade Barrett case with the Joe Blow from Idaho. I mean, do you know the guy's name?
Tessitore.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. That's no knock on him, but he's just there so far. He hasn't grown
Jimmy,
on me.
if I could interrupt you 1 second, I understand that you like him better than Barrett, but Tessitore and Barrett are a very good combination.
Well, then that's
Cole and McAfee are a very good combination.
Right.
So whether you think that Corey Graves is better than McAfee, he's not better in a combination.
I'll give him this much.
You know what I mean?
I'll give him. I agree, and I'll give him this much though. If he learns to work with Booker T, I think that'd be a wonderful exchange back and forth between those two. But right now, Booker T is doing most of the talking because I think Corey's miserable.
See, that's
right
the hard
now.
part in this is that
He's got to free himself from that, so he could be Corey Graves, interchange with Booker T, and have the middleman. It could work.
He's the odd
Make
man.
it work.
Yeah, he's the odd man out. The problem for
He doesn't
Graves,
have to be though.
Well, but the problem for Graves is that he's been somewhat pushed into the color role instead of the play-by-play.
Because he's much better at it.
Yeah, no, I don't.
He's
I don't
much
disagree.
better as
What
as
I'm
a color
saying is,
commentary.
I don't know that you can just plop him in with Booker because I think both of them are color guys.
Yeah, but they're different personalities.
Personalities, fine.
And they could create Mike. Couldn't they create at least a dislike for each other and take jabs at each other in a humorous way? Of course they could. Booker T's got humor. Corey Graves is very sharp. Work on their strengths and get them to become a good announce team. So what? So you got demoted to NXT. I don't disagree with the Barrett Tessitore if that's a good combo. I'm not disagreeing with that. Take your job and make it work. You did it with everything else. Your wrestling career work. Why are you tweeting? As Mike puts the tweet up again. Here's a Pharaoh point. Why are you tweeting? What's the point? I mean, I understand tweeting keeps you.
Can I ask you guys a question though? Who was a better announcer, Jim Ross or Corey Graves?
Oh, Jim Ross.
How many times did they pull Jim Ross off of shows?
Oh, I know.
Months at a time?
I agree. It's unnecessary whining, and know your place, adjust to it, and make it work.
I think, rightly or wrongly, I think Graves' issue. Now, look, if he's working us, God bless him because he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
But I think rightly or wrongly, I think Graves' issue here is that Pat he's entertaining as hell. He's good with Cole. I think Graves is better in the color role than Pat. That's a personal.
Mike, you realize what this is?
Thing.
Do you realize what this is?
No, hang on. It's a personal thing in broadcasting. That's just the way I feel. But
you drew a comparative, though.
I think, for me, Graves' issue is Pat is a part-timer coming in.
Drawing my comparative for me.
He is.
Keep going.
I think he's a part-timer coming in from outside. We talked about it earlier with the guys coming in from outside the wrestling world. I think that's Graves' issue.
Who did I describe him to earlier? CM Punk. Why did CM Punk leave WWE? Because John Cena and The Rock, and here comes this part-timer. You see the cohesion, though? Right. And you have an announcer who's in an announcing situation where he feels like, I'm the main event guy. I'm the guy who always has to do shows. I work the hardest, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. The fans like what I do, yada, yada, yada. You demote me? I'm out of here. Or I'm one step out of here. Or I'm going to put a tweet.
I think, guys, though, that was a great comparison, Jimmy. Fantastic comparison. Yeah. And Graves and Punk smelt their own shit, right? Listen, Punk is an icon. Okay, he is an icon. But remember this. Punk will never be remembered as in the top 20 greatest wrestlers of all time. I don't care. Yes, no, he will not. He doesn't have that.
That's silly.
Dude, I can guarantee you can name 20 guys before you name CM.
You could, but I would think in my top 20, I say CM Punk's in it.
When you really think about it, Jimmy, after this show's over and you're sitting in your bed, you're going to go, let me think about this.
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is do the game changers. You know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do it from who I rooted for. I'm going to do it from an historical perspective because I'm going to treat it like I got to report history accurately. So there's going to be guys on the list that I'm not a fan of. But they're going to be in my top 20.
We're kind of going off script here, but I'm going to hit you both with names and tell me.
Okay.
Just very simple. Punk more important or not, okay? Hulk Hogan.
No, not then Hulk.
Okay,
come on.
Ric Flair.
No, not in my opinion.
Randy Savage.
Not in my opinion, no.
Roddy Piper.
Not in my opinion, no.
Road Warriors.
Tag team, different story.
Yeah.
Please give me
wrestlers, though. Why is that? It doesn't matter.
You got to give me individuals. You got to.
Vern Gagne.
No.
No.
No, I actually think CM Punk has done more for the business than Vern Gagne.
Wow. So wait a minute, you're going with Punk over Vern Gagne?
On a business level, yeah, I'm putting CM Punk in my top 20 before I'm putting Vern Gagne. Yeah,
Bruno
I am.
Sammartino.
No.
Bob
Much
Backlund.
different. Yes.
That's
Probably.
fair. That's fair.
Yes.
Okay. Ultimate Warrior.
In the long-term big picture, yes.
Yeah, Warriors' real hiatus was too short.
You got to understand, CM Punk has had such a fucking impact, Mike. I'm sorry. You yourself witnessed it at the Garden. I'm not asking you to fucking like him. All I'm trying to say is that
but what I'm saying to you though, his tenure, him bailing out for that 10 years has cost him.
It's cost him the opinion of himself on some people, but I don't think that it cancels out what he's done for this sport.
Let me throw this out at you too.
He's huge.
I think if he had stayed
For
gone,
God's sakes, he's almost 50. He just main evented the debut on Netflix. Can I get something?
I'm almost 50, but I haven't done them in Netflix. But look, let me throw this anecdotally out at you just for perspective. I think if he had not come back, I would be more inclined to agree that he won't.
I agree with that, Mike.
But
Mike,
let me put it to you this way.
This is Mike's icing on the cake.
Look, we talked about this a while ago with my journey through being a wrestling fan. I was not watching pretty much for most of the time from, let's say, 2003 through about 2020. COVID got me back.
A lot of shit.
But I'll tell you this:
there are two
names I really remember hearing.
Okay.
That caused me to dive back in for a couple of weeks or a couple of months just to see what was going on in that time. One was Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
And one was CM Punk.
Right.
So there is something to be said for somebody that can reach someone who's not actively watching wrestling and their impact. And that's why I think Punk will get in the top 20. Yeah. But there are a lot of other people that are more important.
Mike, I didn't name, Stone Cold, The Rock.
Sure.
Right. Undertaker.
He'll be 15 to 20.
Randy Orton. Yeah, he would be 15 to 20. That's fair.
He's in there, though. That was the whole argument, is that he's in there. And I think he is in there. I also think there's a spot for Chris Jericho, but we can make a whole show on it.
You guys got to remember this, too. You're only remembering him now because of the work he has done since he's come back.
No, right.
Right.
Well, don't forget, I love the work he did before he left. I wasn't happy that CM Punk left.
But you know what? But Jimmy, to be fair, he had run his course with you when he went to AEW. You were done with him.
Well,
right?
I was done with him because he wasn't real. Listen, I'm going to use a Yankee analogy. When you're a Yankee, and no, it's the truth though, because Mike and Mike knows what I'm talking about. Raised on the East Coast, WWF, they're in the territory. Those were our Yankees.
Yes.
We rooted for them. We liked Georgia Championship Wrestling, but you still were the enemy. Mm-hmm. And we understood what territories meant.
Right.
And we rooted for our guys with all our heart and all our soul. Right. So basically what it's really come down to for me is that you want the product to remain healthy. And right now there's a lot of future stuff going on that we don't know what's going to happen. When you see the past trampled on what I consider Babe Ruth, not to get back to Hogan, but like when I see that trampled on, I feel like you're trampling on a Yankee. And when CM Punk came back, I was mad at him when he left the Yankees. I was mad at him because he went from a minor league prospect and a great one. It's just like baseball in certain ways. He came from Ring of Honor. It's a minor league. All right. Just like someone came up through the Yankees in the minor leagues, highly touted, has a great run. Longest reign since Hogan. Pipe bomb. A whole new set of fans are paying attention, including me, Mike. We might not even have this show if it wasn't for the pipe bomb, because wrestling was losing me at that point. When the pipe bomb happened, I'm like, oh my God, he made me pay attention again. And Mike, that means something. We wouldn't even have Monte The Pharaoh if Punk doesn't make me pay attention again. I hated Cena.
That's fair, but
I had my Joker.
Again, but why do we continue? Why do we continue giving him credit for the pipe bomb? It's Vince McMahon that allowed him to do that and saw that in him, right?
But do I not give credit to Vince McMahon?
But think about But Phil literally hates Vince McMahon.
He
And if it's
shouldn't.
not for Vince McMahon, he is
shouldn't.
not. He's
He
wrestling in
shouldn't.
the Indies still
He
to this point.
shouldn't hate Vince McMahon. I agree with that. There should at least be some sort of in between where they talk. Look, Yogi Berra hated George for almost 20 years before they kissed and made up. You got to at some point realize, stop it already. So I agree with that. I don't agree that they should be enemies. And I agree that if it wasn't for Vince McMahon, that's why I was mad at Punk. You asked me why. I was mad at Punk because of that. Come home. Make up with Vince. Fucking come home. Don't go to AEW. It's the only time AEW ever eclipsed 1 million views was because of Punk. They didn't even know what to do with their biggest cash cow. The inmates ran the asylum, and Punk came back to the Yankees. And I was like, please be like a Mattingly in the locker room. Be like a Jeter. I thought to myself, please do that. And you will just smear everything that everybody's been smearing about you right back in their face. And so far, so good.
So much of what you just said sounds like very much the way Seth feels.
Right.
And that's why this damn program is going to be so successful.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so real.
Yeah.
And it's believable. I was kind of like you. I mean, I watched when he debuted in AEW, but I was kind of like,
I was mad.
Dude, why are you so hateful?
Yeah.
To an entity that helped make you.
Well,
it's like
I
get it. You don't want to go back, but it was literally we want to bury WWE. And now I'm glad he's back home. But
Mike, was it necessary for him to go to AEW? What do you think?
I think it was necessary for that time. Look, things happen for a reason. Look, I think I said a couple of weeks ago, and it's a great point what you two just brought up. Seth Rollins, CM Punk is more real than we actually think. These are true feelings. Yeah. Seth Rollins feels like he's been carrying the flag for the WWE. And Jimmy, I remember a tweet from 6 years ago from Seth Rollins. And I think inside he's personally hurt a little bit, and he does feel this way about CM Punk. And I got to understand, this is like the problem with society. Right. This guy shit all over everybody that was a WWE guy.
Right.
And now he's back in. Let's give him hugs and kisses. Look, again, it almost falls into the Corey Graves McAfee thing.
Right.
CM Punk is money. The WWE is all about money. So you got to put him up in there. But on a personal basis, if you wanted a wrestler for your company, Seth Rollins would be the guy, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree more with that, but I will throw this in. As that's happening and Punk's coming back into that locker room, now don't forget, Punk left because a bigger star had the nerve to come back. It was best for business. Vince did what was best for business. Well, here's Punk. It's best for business, right? I bet you Punk had and he probably thought this to himself. I don't know if he said it, but he probably wanted to go up to Rollins and go, so how's that feel, fucko? Don't feel very good, does it? Because that's what happened to me.
I got to be honest, guys.
Honestly,
some part of me feels like Triple H, I still believe, hates CM Punk for some reason.
I think you're right.
He's in a different role. And I feel somewhere along the line, he is going to fuck Punk over. And it would be a sweet, sweet revenge.
But why would you do that, though, man? He's making so much money. Mike, you're going to wait till he dries out?
Nah, dude, that's me making up a stupid story. It's not going to happen.
I was going to say, I actually don't think that in real life. I think Triple H has changed a lot, but it would make a hell of an angle.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, you would say, though, Triple H, the problems between CM Punk and McMahon have to do with Triple H. Triple H did not like CM Punk, right?
No. Back then, clearly, I do think legitimately, certainly Triple H, Punk to an extent are different people. And I do think they probably interact with each other on a different level than they would. Look, if Triple H was still actively wrestling, they'd probably still be going at it the way that they do.
They're both older now. They're older and wiser.
That's right.
I think they're